Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to episode 42. I can't believe that we're already up in the 40s. If you are ever in a place in your business or in your life where things are crazy and they just don't feel settled, they're not exactly where you want them to be. Maybe you feel like you've just got a lot of failure, or your business isn't operating at the place that you would want it to be. Sometimes those things that I call them, upside down frownies, or upside down in our businesses, in our lives. How do you turn those upside down and turn them into a smiley, in other words? So our special guest today, we're going to talk about those things, like, how do you make small shifts in your life or in your business? And sometimes it's both. Sometimes things are out of whack with your personal life that impacts your business. So we're going to be talking about those types of things. So if that's of interest to you, like if you're like, that resonates with me, then you are in the right place. If you have never been on one of my shows before, my name is Kim Garst, and I would love to meet you as well. So if you'll just drop in #new in your name, I'd love to say, hey. I'm an online business strategist, which just is a fancy way of saying that I love helping people make more money in their business. That's kind of my jam. I've owned an online business for almost 30 years. That sounds terrible when I say it out loud like that, but I love sharing my knowledge and bringing other people in that can help you learn and grow in your business. Hence, marketing that grows your business. Okay, so on every show, we do some giveaways. And as you guys are coming in, just give me a shout out. Where is everybody? Oh, Taylor, good to see you, girl. Greetings from Colorado. Okay, so Taya from Colorado. We've got Nigeria in the house. Wow. Paul, I am so glad to see you, as always. Good to see you, my friend. Dee from Las Vegas. Excellent. So welcome, guys. As you guys are coming in, and this is a judgment-free zone. So feel free to share your struggles, or if something resonates with you that Bryan shares. Oops, I already said the name. You guys now know who our special guest is, but technically, I guess you know that anyway. So we have Debbie in the house from Ohio and New York. Taylor, Taylor's from upstate New York. Well, welcome, you guys. On every show, I do some giveaways, and today is no different. We're going to be doing several giveaways. One, we're going to be giving away this cutesy little webcam cover. Hopefully you guys can see this. It's to slide on your over top of your camera so nobody can spy on you. Evidently, that's like a big thing right about now. I guess there's a lot of bored people during COVID times, and they're like hacking into people's cameras. So hence, we are giving away one of these little webcam covers. We are also, because we want to honor our special guest, we are going to be giving away a copy of our special guest latest book, Shareology. So you guys will have a chance to win a copy of that. And we are also giving away 3 of our special sponsor. We have a sponsor for today's show, which is the Go Social Content Club. And the Go Social Content Club is basically for those of you who might feel like you sit down in front of your computer and you're like, what am I going to post on social media today? So if you're struggling with whatever it is you're going to post, and then how you create it and then sharing it, we take the first 2 out of the equation. So you don't have to worry about the idea or the creation, because it's already pre-created. So it's pre-created social media content that's designed to get people chattering with you. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can check out the Go Social Content Club. We're going to be giving away 3 one-month trials to the Go Social Content Club. So if you want to win those, how do you win these prizes? Right? So the way we do it is we leverage the power of what we call aha moments. So if you hear something that's like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Sometimes it's something that you already knew and you just needed to hear it in the moment. Or maybe it's something you didn't know, hadn't thought of. Drop in your #aha moments, and that's how we choose the winners for the prizes that I just mentioned. And I do have a quick ask of you guys. Can you sprinkle this out? If you feel like there is something that we're going to be talking about today that somebody you know needs, just tag them or hit the S button. Facebook doesn't like us to tell y'all what to do. So just I say sprinkle it out into the world, and we'll get some more folks in here. So that's all of that, all the like all the front side stuff. So let me intro our special guest, guys. Our special guest is Bryan Kramer. Now, I've known Bryan for years now. He is the co-founder of H2H Company and a renowned business performance coach, a global keynote speaker, executive trainer, 2-time best-selling author, Forbes contributor, and a former president, CEO of a Silicon Valley global marketing agency, which is a part of the little story we're going to talk about today. In his business performance coaching, Bryan teaches speakers. That left me there. I wonder, can y'all hear me when I'm talking? Okay, good. I was like, I wonder, since this is a video, if I'm like cutting off my sound. But anyway, I guess there's no sound and we're still good. But let me put this back up here real quick. Bryan teaches and focuses on helping speakers, executives, and entrepreneurs how to up-level their storytelling and create more business opportunities through the H2H method, which is stinking brilliant, by the way, y'all. So I'm going to bring Bryan in here. So Bryan, hello, my friend.
Hello. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you. Good. Yes.
Good. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. And I want those prizes too, but I'll happily share them with other people.
Well, let me ask you, let me ask everybody that's with us first. How many of you guys know who Bryan Kramer is? So I'm going to tell a quick little story. Bryan and I, Bryan, I was trying to think earlier, how long do we go back? When we first met, you were still in your agency. You owned an agency, and you've since, moved forward and out of that, which is part of the pivot I'm sure that you've had to make. But do you remember when we first met? I couldn't even put my finger on it.
I was thinking about that too. And it would have to be somewhere between 10 and 15 years, I would say.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it would probably be through social media world, maybe.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly where. I remember we were at the same conference. We spoke at the same conference, in Nashville one time.
Okay.
Anyway, but we go back a minute.
It's fun when it's a blur, isn't it?
Yeah, and he has, and not only does he have an amazing business background, but he's also blessed to have an incredible wife. Her name is Courtney, and she is, I'm trying to think of my best word to describe her, honestly, is sparkly. That's the first word that comes to mind, because she lights up the room when you are around her. I mean, she's just got a sparkling personality, and he's got 2 beautiful children. So it's just been we go back a minute, and I really have appreciated the connection. So I want to talk a little bit and dig a little bit into this journey that you have been on. I call it our online journey, if you will. Now, like I say, when we first met, you had an agency. And what was your agency like? What was that all about? And, what types of clients did you manage and handle? And what did that look like at that point in time?
Yeah, so the agency at its full peak was, we were at 18 years. And over the course of time, we changed. We were something, and I think that most agencies do. So, that's how agencies survive. They become different things over time. And so for the first part of the agency's life, we were more of a brand and digital agency. So we're doing websites and stuff like that. And then we grew into more demand gen. And the demand gen is actually what kicked off the agency into working with more. At first, we're working with more local clients. Excuse me. And then we grew into more, medium-sized clients. And those clients were interesting clients because there were a lot, but in fact, I think all tech. And we were working to produce like really interesting, sophisticated demand gen campaigns that, we learned a lot on. And what was interesting is all 4 of those clients ended up getting bought by, not that we had 4 clients, but all 4 of the tech clients got bought by IBM all at the same time, which made us that they loved us so much because we grew these 4 companies or helped to grow them in revenue so much that IBM then adopted us in, which started kind of our process into working with IBM and Netflix and MasterCard and Cisco and all kinds of really interesting companies. So it was at that point, then we really started into the whole social media venture where we were still doing demand gen, we were still doing digital, but then we took on social because social was kind of like that missing piece and also that fun piece, as you know, Kim, that really completed everything. And the social piece was really focused more on influencer marketing than anything else. And so we became very good at that and started the first social campaign for IBM. And that was just an absolute blast. And that led us up to right around 18 years. So it changed a bit over time. And in that time, there was a lot of different fun things that happened. And, as you know, some books and speaking and all kinds of stuff. But that's pretty much how the agency went.
Yeah. So what happened, or what was the trigger maybe that you said, okay, I don't know if I want to do this agency stuff anymore. And you had to make some shifts. And I know it was quite, I'm sure there's a lot to that story, but just start taking us down the road a little bit there.
Yeah. The story there is that in about 17 or 17 and a half, I was on the road for roughly 175 days a year at that point for several years. And I was missing all kinds of things in my children's life. I wasn't really at home at all much. And I was running the agency from the road, obviously with Courtney at home and at the office doing what she can too. We, had a nice significant amount of things going right. So from the outside looking in, it looked pretty good. People were, seeing, me speaking all over the place, or the agency doing well, and people really having fun working at the agency. But on the inside, I was dying. I was just totally like killing myself because, traveling that much is not glamorous. You're at X-ray machines, you're eating club sandwiches at midnight after arriving, at a hotel, at 10 p.m. And you wake up the next morning tired, give your speech, which is the fun part. And I do love that part. And then get on an airplane and fly to the next place. And so it was really, really hard on my body. And I also, gained weight over that time, a lot of weight, and to the point where I got diabetes. It was a bad country song. And so, all of that combined, I came home one day and I said to Courtney, I said, I'm not able to do this anymore. I can't keep it up. This is rough on me. And so I said, I'm really burned out on everything. And, I just, I'm feeling like I want to exit, not our marriage, just the agency and speaking. And so we began the process to do that. And it took us roughly 6 months to, unwind. In fact, it took us years to unwind, but it took us 6 months to, unwind the clients and get everything produced and out there. And I had no clue what I was going to do. No idea what I was going to do following that. And it was probably it was just my soul was just burning, and I needed to get out. And so we did, and I took a year off and I didn't do anything. I really just just chilled. I took on a few clients here and there that was just easy enough that I could, I could do it with my hands mostly tied behind my back because we've been doing it for years. But other than that, I just chilled for a year, and it was probably the most cathartic thing I've ever done in my life. Just taking a year off and just really kind of figuring out what life was to me at that point. Because how often do we get that gift to take time off and just not worry about what was going to happen next? It was kind of like a school summer vacation that we all miss when we were children. And
I think that happens too quite honestly. If we have even if you're not at the level of success as to that you're striving for yet, I think lots of times we reach burnout because we're just pedaling so fast. There's that water on the top that's nice and calm, and like you said, looking in, it looks like everything's nice and calm, and then the little feet, the flippers, are underneath the water, just going. And I've been there many times in my entrepreneurial journey, and it's hard. It's hard to want to slow down, and I like to dig into that a little bit because what was the catalyst? I mean, you mentioned a lot of things, honestly, as it relates to life. You just didn't like this life anymore. Like, you were missing things. But was there one thing that you're like, okay, I'm pulling the plug on what was, by all measuring sticks, successful? I don't want to do this anymore. What was that one thing that you're like, done? I am so done with this.
The one thing that I was so done with was, it was, that's tough because I had multiple things I was done with. I was done with the 175-ish each year days of travel. That I was done with that. I just don't think that that's glamorous or as glamorous as everyone. Now we can't really travel. So I'm like in my best place because we don't have to. We can't really. I mean, we can to certain places if we really want to, but events are gone. So at least for now. And so I really this is my favorite spot. It's like, I'm an ambivert. I love being around people. I miss it. It's my favorite thing in the world to be around people. And yet I also need my space and my time and my thinking time and all of that. And so it wasn't filling my ambivert self by being on the road that much. That was just too much for me. It wasn't healthy for me. I mean, I put on over 65 pounds. I got diabetes. I was eating. I don't miss, I do miss club sandwiches at midnight in hotels, I guess, but I don't miss it too, because, I when that year that I took off, I lost all that weight and I got rid of diabetes. And I knew I had to do that if I wanted to make a U-turn for my children, because my son looked at me one day and he said, "Dad, you're not going to be here for my grandkids if you keep going in the direction you're going." And he was the impetus behind me doing everything I did. He actually literally sat me down and said that, and it just tore into me. Yeah. I just could not fathom that happening. And I will never forget that and appreciate that. And I tell him that.
Yeah.
So,
I think that, again, people look into other people's businesses sometimes and they don't understand the cost of the success. Yeah. And, when you first get started down this road, and I would say for those of you, again, who are just getting started in your businesses, or you're not where you think you want to be yet, when you start traveling, they ask you to speak at this place or the other place, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing." Now, remember this, this too shall pass. Where we are right now shall pass, and we will get back to having opportunities to go speak at places. Mm-hmm. So when that first starts happening, it's like you feel like, you've reached a level of success, like somebody's validating the opportunity, because you get the opportunities to go speak and they're validating that you've worked so hard and you've reached it, but it's not super awesome after you do it for a while, right? I mean, and of course, Bryan is saying, doing 170 days is super hard. I used to look at our friend Jay Bear and I'm like, how in the world does he do it? Because it is hard. Yeah. It is super hard. So let's talk about this though, because you're talking about not just making a business decision. You're like, I can't do this anymore, but you also, in the midst of all of that, you had to look to your own personal health too.
Yeah.
So what did that look like for you when, was it making, did you use the year just to get your health back? I guess that's my question to you.
Yes. Yeah. I got my mental health back. I got my physical health back. I poured myself into, first I took 1 or 2 months and I just kind of soul searched a little bit. I didn't really focus on my health at first. It was just more like shedding. It was like a shedding. I mean, here I had 18 years of, an agency and, 30 employees and just all the, excuse me, all the different layers of everything in life that we had put together and built. And so it just took me some time just to give myself that time. And then I climbed into hiring a health a health coach, and that person helped me with a food and workout plan, and helped hold me to that. And I lost a bit of weight. What I realized the most is that it was it's not just about hiring somebody. It was really just more mindset. And I know everybody talks about mindset, but it's one of the most incredible things when you get your mind around it. You can almost lose weight just with mindset, I think, because at one point I believed I could see myself. I would visualize what I could and would look like, and I would see it, and I'd dream it. I would conjure it up every time I'm going to take a bite of something, and I'd say, is this going to help you look like this in this visualization? And it worked. Doing that alone, just changing my entire mindset around visualization of what I wanted and what I desired and hoped for. That was the shift for me to getting back actually farther down and losing more weight than I had since I was in college. So it was really a mind shift, if you will, versus like, because I worked out with the health coach for a little while, but I needed someone there to just kind of bump me and get me started. But after a while, you got to want it.
Yeah, I think that's true across the board. And I would love to hear from you guys that are with us live or even on the replay if you're watching. Does this resonate with any of you? Are you feeling this like, I think sometimes it's so hard to own the things in our lives that are not awesome, or the things in our business that are not serving us well. But it takes real strength to embrace the fact that they're not serving us any longer, and to turn away from them and turn into something shift. Sometimes it's just the smallest things. So you made the decision, obviously, to do something about your health. You made the decision to not, go down the same road, your agency road, any longer. How did you take what you already knew and reposition it to something that you could see yourself doing going forward? I mean, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, what's interesting is, so I'm just going to sideline just a second, because I had to look at life differently in terms of how I was used to operating. I was used to operating with, and this is just the way I'm built, but I was used to operating with big, grandiose things. Like the bigger the thing I could conquer, the more I wanted it. And I had to change that. I didn't want to shoot for the moon anymore. I wanted to shoot for happiness and contentness and just living a really wonderful, decent life. And the way that I was used to living was just like, I was over the top. I was used to burning out on things like, writing 2 books in less than 2 years and then getting into a TED Talk. In all the things that I did, I was very, very proud of myself. But I also felt like I needed to slow down because that speed at which I was used to working and thinking that this is what you have to do if you're an entrepreneur is what got me into trouble. That's what got me into where I was at. And so I hit the brakes. And what happened next is my wife, Courtney, who you mentioned before, actually, she ended up becoming a CMO of the Coaches Training Institute, which is now called Coactive. And it was just a happen chance that she took the role on because of something that happened internally and the spot being open, and she was consulting them at the time. And when she did the work, they loved it and brought her on board and asked her to be the global head of marketing. And at that time, she said it was a hard one because she'd never worked for another company before too. She was like me, an entrepreneur for her whole life. So that was a tough decision, but she said yes. She went on board. She took the role. She kicked it. She did really well. Worked there for 4 years until the pandemic hit because they're 100% in-person events. So that's a whole different story. But when she did that, then she's at the largest global coaches training company in the world. And here I'm looking for something else that I can do. And hey, Amy. And all of a sudden I was like, well, I'll go through the program. What do I have to lose? I'm not doing anything right now. So I went through it. I went through their leadership program and got certified, went through the coaches program and got certified. And I just like absolutely found my people. Every time I'm in this room of coaches, it just feels like, man, oh man, these where have you been my whole life? And over the course of those 4 years, I started getting actually asked by some of my past clients in marketing to coach them kind of as a coach consultant, if you will. And so I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy and that's what I've done. I've been working with individuals and groups and taking people through a process of doing everything that I learned in my agency, which is helping coaches and consultants to grow their business, but also in their mindset. Because again, I come from this place of knowing what burnout looks like and what going too fast looks like and how we can really damage ourselves. So I'm looking at all sides of the human when I'm coaching people and saying, okay, here's how we're going to grow you so that you can have the best process ever.
I love that. And I love that journey of how you figured out and found your people. Because I think sometimes we fall into things in our businesses and we just, I've said this to my boys quite frequently, just get on a path, it'll fork. You don't have to know where you're going when you get started. You just have to get on the road, right? But the problem with that is that happens to us too. Sometimes you just get on the road and you follow the road because you miss the forks sometimes because you're staying focused. But I'm just curious because I always feel like that everything happens for a reason. And I know that your experience with the agency now is being circled back to and leveraged with what you're doing now. So, even though you feel like maybe you, or I'm saying this to anybody that is listening that is in this boat, sometimes I think we think their failures are just that, like, they're failures or, they're stumbling blocks or they're a mess and you don't want to go back there, but you just build on them, you use them, at a later point in time. So I'm curious because I know, and I want to share this with everyone. Bryan coined a phrase that's H2H. It stands for human to human marketing, essentially. So like B2B or B2C, it's H2H. Now, how has that concept served you well in the next thing?
Oh my God. It was a gift. That was a gift from the higher power, whoever your higher power is. HH was my gift. I was talking about HH for a while, and this is 5 years ago. I was standing on stage, and it was the right conference, right place, right time, with the right people. And it was at Bloomberg West, and I shared the HH concept in the middle of a presentation, like I always do. And I put it up on the slide and then moved to the next slide. And I remember the MC saying, can you move back to that last slide? And I did. And then everybody lifted their phone following him. And took pictures of it and shared it. And it must have just resonated even louder in that room more than ever. And at that time, you know, social media was still kind of like newish. And so, you know, people were kind of looking for, you know, ways to help understand and do strategy around their social media campaigns. So it was really resonating at the time. And in the next 48 hours, it had, I think it was like 140 million impressions that we could count. And so that really spun it off the most. That one trigger event was a trigger event that I'll never forget, and I'm so grateful for. It took the HH on a road trip, which ironically HH is what sent me traveling around the world and burnout. So I gotta love it for what it is and thank it for what it wasn't. and it still lives on in everything that I do, because H2H is, when you think about it, where it was with social media, human to human at that time meant we can all talk to each other anywhere globally, from within companies to outside of companies. That had never been that way before. You know, you look at billboards and radio and TV, the way that old traditional advertising used to work, and then you look at how we are today in social media, where you can reach out to anybody and say anything, which is both good and bad. But you know, that changes the whole playing field, and it still kind of boggles my mind that we can do that. Then it shifted into from social media into things like automation, bots, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, email automation. I mean, we're trying to automate everything. So now this is the land of automation time, and I think it's just going to get even worse. Where technology is going to become so strong in how we try to move our businesses faster and scale faster, and where I believe it's going is actually being human is your competitive advantage. Because if you are more human, you're going to stand out from all the automation. It's actually reversed. It's like when you used to get things in the mail. Remember that time when people used to send something to you and it was handwritten and your name was on it? I love that. And we don't have that anymore. So now send stuff in the mail. You want to stand out, send something in the mail.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Where every year we do these, I don't know if you do, but I do them. What's the predictions for the next, 2021? And that was one of my predictions, is that we are going to circle back to old style marketing, proven marketing techniques, more of the human element than, a lot of the automation pieces. I'm finding that to be really true in my sales processes too. The more I'm personally involved, the better the experience is. So, but I wanted to highlight something real quick. Christina is saying, I really hope he writes this book. I agree with you, Christina. This is you wrote the two, but this is a powerful story, Bryan, where I think a lot of people can really resonate with this story, because you get to a place where it's no longer serving you, and you have to make those hard decisions, and they are hard. But then there's beautiful things on the other side, right? So
yeah, I am. Thank you, Christina. That really highlights the fact that I am writing a book. I'm not as far into it as I'd like to be. I'm treating this process as much more of a fun process. Everything I do now is much slower than I used to, and I'm okay with that. But I am writing one, and it really struck me around this concept around shifts and how we can be more gentle to ourselves in the things that we do, that we don't always have to pivot. And when you think about a pivot, you're actually on a basketball court, and you're staying in one place and you're just moving around your leg as it pivots. So I actually prefer shifting. And I found this one little piece of really interesting research around a ship carrier, like one of the Navy ship carriers, those big ones, like the USS Midway in San Diego. And I actually took a picture underneath the USS Midway, and we were in a friend of mine's boat, and I'll never forget it because it was just so massive. And so you look at this massive ship and you think to yourself, how all the technology it takes to move this thing around. And what's also interesting is that the compass that sits inside of it is still on a magnet. It's magnetized to the point where it actually has to be recalibrated still today with all the technology that we have. It still has to be recalibrated so that it is not off over the course of a year by 1 degree. If you don't recalibrate it, it's off by 1 degree. And a 1 degree shift for a carrier is 277 miles. Now, when you take that kind of like level of largeness and smallness of just what a shift can create, we can create big epic things for ourselves by just changing 1 degree. We don't have to focus on moving our entire life the way most of us think we need to. Like diet starts with 1 degree. Health starts with 1 degree. Everything starts with 1 degree, and the pressure just starts to come off of your shoulders, and you can start to really feel like, wow, this is totally doable. I can do this. I can accomplish this. And so that's my hope out of all of this, is that I can continue to work on that kind of work, because that just is so fulfilling.
Well, I was actually going to go there, because what we've talked about so far has been big. Those have been big, powerful shifts in your business. But can you describe, even today, even though you've shifted, no longer doing agency stuff, but now that you have more grace with yourself, because that's what I would call it, you're slowing down, you know what's important to you, and that comes first. The rest is, just what it is. But when it comes to small things now that you would say that is that, you take the 1 degree shift that could turn your business 277 miles, or what's it, 277?
Yeah.
I think I said that, if I remember the numbers right. Mm-hmm. So can you give us an example of something small that you might could pull out and say, okay, I'm going to shift slightly here, nothing dramatic, that's made a big difference in your business?
So it made a difference in my business. Well, I don't take more than 20 clients on with my practice. And the reason I don't do that is because I would get Zoom fatigue. We're all working on Zoom these days. So the shift I decided to make was that I'm going to, oh my God, there's so many people I know in this chat, Joanne and Kim, and I'm missing some people, but Nancy. And so, those are the little things that I look at, how am I going to keep myself to a level that is going to help me live the most full that I can live. And doing that doesn't mean working every day, all day. I have to work. I love to work. I love to help people, but I can't do it. I can't do 8-hour Zoom days. That is not going to help anybody, including myself. So I got to limit it. So that's one of the shifts. Another shift is I take a walk every day, and I walk for about 2 to 3 miles, and I use that time to think about whatever it is that comes to me. Sometimes it's creating a video for social, and sometimes it's just, nothing. It's just looking around and enjoying the world. And just doing that and knowing that I have that to look forward to every day is just one of my favorite things. Sometimes I'll get on the phone, I'll just call a friend and just reach out and talk to them. Another shift is that I make more of an intention to be with my family and my parents. I didn't do that before because I was traveling so much. And so for the last 4 years, I make sure that I get alone time. I'll take my son, my daughter's now in college, so I can't do this with her, but I'll take my son still to the car wash. He's 16. He thinks that it's lame, but I don't care. And we enjoy it. We laugh and we have a good time every Sunday. And, just these little things, they're so little, but I just love the moment when it happens that I get to talk to my dad while I'm walking, or I get to, just take that walk every day, or I get to help a small, it's almost like Jerry Maguire. It's like a smaller group of people, and just knowing that I can affect change in or we can affect change in their lives together. And so it really just comes down to little tiny micro moments. That's the key. And when you see that micro moment happen, celebrate it and say, I want more of that. I want more micro moments. And that really helps too, through like the fatigue of all of this. We're all living in a pandemic, and I don't know about you guys, but it's really emotional, which is kind of counterintuitive to where we should be, because we're home with our families. We're doing what we're doing. The world, and I'm not getting political here, but the world politics and everything happening isn't like directly to us. It's on us, if that makes sense. And to take that off as a burden means that we have to just look at the micro moments of all the things that you are making a difference for, and be kind to yourself in those micro moments.
I love that. And that was actually my next question for you. You just set me up really nicely. Thank you. Was based on where we are right now in the world, because I agree wholeheartedly, regardless, and this isn't a political conversation, but it has been weighing on us, right? We log into Facebook or Instagram or whatever, all we see is the negative stuff, like regardless of whose politics or what, everybody's talking about it or being negative about it or whatever. And the emotion of all of that has been really hard, layered on top of the fact that we are in an unusual situation right now with the pandemic. So what would you recommend to business owners as it relates to how can they work with their customers and clients better, show up better, from maybe a shift perspective? Like, what would be some shifts that you would suggest that people take right now because of all this like craziness that we're in?
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you. I'm glad I threw you a softball, because you just gave me one too, which is H to H. It's the whole human to human concept. I would say that is going to be your winning ticket. People right now want to be encouraged. They want support. They want to know that you're listening to them. They will feel elated when they get something from you that shows that you care. If you send a text message just saying, checking in, how are you? That goes to today's text message saying that is different than 6 months ago or 8 months ago or 12 months ago, whenever this all started. And it means something different now. And these I'll say it again, these little micro moments that you can have with your clients are huge in terms of what they can do to shift them, your working relationship together. It's just such we're living in an H to H world, a desired H to H world right now, where everybody wants the one thing that they can't have as much, which is connection. When I wrote Shareology, I interviewed roughly 250 people, all walks of life, psychologists, sociologists, CEOs, CMOs, finance people, you name it, I interviewed them. And I wanted that way because I wanted to see what all walks of life thought about why people and brands share. What is it that they have in common? What do they not have in common? And I took all the interviews and I put them into hey, Jenny, I put them into a word cloud, and I did a word cloud around all the transcripts. Fed it all into this thing. And the one reason that everybody shares, the big word that shined over everything else in the word cloud, was connection. Humans desire connection. It's our one basic kind of human need, if you will. And when you have that taken away from us, then you have to work harder to do it and work harder to get it. And so that's my suggestion, is work hard to get more connection and do little things. Not big. Remember, we're talking about little shifts. I'm not asking you to go out and build a party. These are things that make a difference in someone's life right now, which is, again, a small text asking how someone is means something different today.
Yeah. One thing I did, and I don't know if it'll, if this will give somebody else a spark or an idea or whatever. I started delivering my courses in person versus, just letting people log in and consume the content. And that has made such a big difference in my business because of that, like you said, the connection and the availability, making myself available to answer questions and talk with people has made such a big difference. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. It is, people are craving connection right now. We're more isolated, and if, we may end up getting even more isolated again because of where we are with, increased cases and whatnot. So how can you take that that concept back into your business? And like Bryan said, spend some time, send a personal email, or I would even suggest using the socials if you need to send a pre-recorded video or something. A voice message is so much better, even, I think, than just text. Mm-hmm. So leverage the small. I love the micro moment idea. That really resonated with me. I don't know if it resonated with y'all, but I was like, that's wicked smart. I like the micro moment idea because when you can really like love up your people, it goes both ways.
Yeah. I'll add to that. You made a really good point. Sometimes in text, or in any communication, we tend to listen to people only so far. We, meaning the human race. It's just embedded in us that when we ask a question, we're not there fully for the answer. And I'd encourage you to be there fully. There are three different levels of listening. The first level of listening is when you're there listening to the person, but you're thinking about other things. And that's no bueno. You can't do that because the other person can feel it and they know it and you're not there with them. And so the level 2 listening is when you're listening to somebody, but you are thinking about the next thing that you're going to say. And this can get a little bit scary because if you're thinking about the next thing you're going to say, you're not entirely listening. And the scary part is you don't think you know what you're going to say. So I'm here to tell you, you do. You know exactly what you're going to say and you don't have to think about it, because level 3 is when you're listening to somebody and you're not thinking about anything else but what they're saying. And that's a really hard thing to do. I challenge you all to try and be in your level 3 as much as possible when you go to do these micro moments, because the moment won't matter if you're not there to listen to the outcome.
Okay, who's feeling slightly guilty right now? No, seriously.
I do it all the time.
Okay, I've been listening to Bryan, but I've also been thinking about the next thing. Like, what is my next question? So I'm like, I'm guilty. I'm sorry. So, but that's really wicked smart advice. And, even when you're at an event, and Bryan, you've probably experienced this where, you're at an event and you're speaking with someone and you can see their attention wandering. Like, they're not really paying attention versus somebody who's really focused on what you're saying. One person that and I won't highlight anybody that's, that they weren't listening or paying attention, but somebody that has always impressed me with being present in the moment is Gary V. Like Gary Vaynerchuk, if you guys are not familiar with Gary, like when he's speaking with somebody, it's like he's got tunnel vision. He is totally focused on whomever's in front of him. And I always was impressed with that because I just feel like I'm that mid-range person who's now I'm like, okay, I never thought of it in that sequence. So really clever. Thanks for highlighting that.
Yeah, we can live in between 2 and 3. We'll slip back and forth, but try to get yourself in level 1. That's the one that's the dangerous one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let me add, while we are choosing our winners, we'll pull up our winners. We didn't have as much engagement today, so there wasn't, y'all were so busy listening. Thank you for being number 3 that you didn't drop in a lot of comments, but we'll pull up our winners. And Bryan, can you tell everybody where they can connect with you? Where would be a great place to find you, connect with you? Where are you active on social? Wherever you want to tell people to connect with you.
Yeah, best place is probably my website. So Bryan with a Y and Kramer with a K.com. And everything's there. My social media is there. My newsletter is there. My newsletter is I don't know why I call it a newsletter, because it's actually a personal note that I write every week about what's on my mind, and kind of a conversation just like this. And then my hope is that everybody actually replies, so I can reply back, so they can reply back, and we actually have a conversation. So I know it's kind of strange to think that we should all actually have conversations, but that's my hope and goal in the world. So yeah, bryankramer.com has everything about me that so that we can connect. And I love connecting. So please do.
Yeah, awesome. I remember when you said that, I was like, you know what? I believe the first conversation we actually had was on Twitter. And, because back in the day, Twitter was the place to be. I don't even know why Twitter has killed Twitter, but they have killed Twitter. Conversation for another day, but I'm like, gosh, y'all, stop ruining a great platform. So Sonia is saying, when I just started, I learned from you so much, and when finally I met you, you gave me undivided attention. Oh, thank you. You were so nice. Thank you so much. What an amazing, that makes my heart warm today. So thank you. Okay, so our webcam winner is Carla. So Carla Dieter is our webcam winner. And then winner of the book is, Christina, I'm so glad, because you, I think, really resonated with today's story, Bryan's story. So I think you're really going to love his book. So winner of the book. And then here we go. The winners, go to kimgarst.com/winner and drop in your deets, and the Go Social Content winners. So you'll get a month of the Go Social Content Club, Joanne, Laura, and Barbara. So if you guys can go again to kimgarst.com/winner, and we will get you guys set up. All right. So Bryan, thank you so much for sharing a powerful story on just the evolution of business. I think part of it is evolution, where we come to a place in our lives where, what we're doing is no longer serving us and we have to make the hard decisions. But really, it was an empowering message of just taking the small shifts, making this, doing the work too, doing the personal work. I think it's the human to human work. I think it's so important. But thanks for sharing such a powerful message with us today. And I see we got a lot of here. We got love this. You always have. Thank you. I tell you, I have some amazing friends and relationships that I've formed over the years, and definitely Bryan is at the top of that list. Guys, if you enjoyed this, please let us know. Connect with Bryan. Go to bryankramer.com. Remember, it's with a Y, not an I, because I made that mistake myself a couple of times in the early days. So Y, no I. And you guys take care of yourselves. Stay safe. God bless. We'll see you on Thursday.